In this video on Cloudspire, we'll be going over the 4th and 5th phases of the game, the build phase and the prep phase. Please note that this video will contain components not only from the base game of Cloudspire, but from a legion of other content and faction expansions as well. The build phase comes directly after the market phase. During this phase, players will make improvements to their fortresses and also construct and improve spires. Players will take turns during the build phase, starting with the first player, and continue in turn order. Each player on their turn must either pass or perform a build option. A player may keep taking turns until they decide to pass into the next phase, and the next phase begins once all players have passed. There are 4 main build options a player can perform, but some relics, events, or fortress advancements may grant others as well. The first build option a player may perform is to construct a spire. In order to do this, the source cost must be paid if selecting an available spire from the barracks. If a previously purchased Merc Spire is chosen for construction, then the source cost was already paid. Once a player has chosen the spire they wish to construct, they will place it on a source well within their faction's influence. The starting upgrades are stacked and in the order of the player's choosing. The second build option is to upgrade an existing spire. The appropriate source cost is paid in order to add an upgrade to a spire under the player's control. The player may add any number of upgrades up to the spire's upgrade capacity, as long as they are able to pay the source cost. Each range and attack upgrade will cost the player's source equal to the number of upgrades the spire will have after its addition. As for fortification upgrades, these always cost 2 source. The third build option allows a player to place an Earthscape as long as the player has one next to their barracks. The Earthscape must be placed on a valid position. They can be placed adjacent to an existing hex, which extends the play area, or they can be placed on top of an existing hex group to alter the play area. When altering the existing play area, the Earthscape must be placed on an even plane and cannot be placed on occupied hexes. Earthscapes may be placed on top of source wells and on top of path terrains. In the latter case, when covering path, this can only be done as long as there is still path terrain connecting all possible marks. The player must have influence over at least one of the hexes the Earthscape is placed on. Once an Earthscape is placed, as part of the build option, the player may immediately construct a spire on one of the Earthscape's source wells, as long as the player has influence over the hex. The source cost of the spire, if coming from the barracks, must be paid. The fourth build option is to advance the player's fortress, which improves the faction's abilities and counts towards the fortress's power at the end of the game. Each player's faction reference sheet gives information on the various effects and costs of its available fortress advancements. There are a number of fortress structures in each given faction. For example, the Uprising has 6 separate fortress structures which can be advanced. Within each fortress structure, a number of individual advancements can be made. For example, the first time the Horizon's Wrath faction advances its launch bay, it pays the cost of 3 source, which allows the player to construct Shadow Skiff and Lifeboat spires. To indicate the purchase of an advancement, the player will use a Fortress Advancement peg, placing it in the proper space. Note that fortress advancements are progressive and must be purchased in chronological order unless otherwise stated. As soon as an advancement is purchased, if the advancement grants use of a die, the die is placed in the appropriate slot. As mentioned earlier, other build options may arise through gameplay. The Pyre Relic is one of these. It allows the player to give up a maximum of 2 minions in its barracks in order to add a free spire upgrade to any spire for each minion sacrificed. The next phase is the prep phase. During the prep phase, players will choose their units, strategizing about their plan of attack. First, players will declare their mark in turn order. When a player indicates their mark, they say which faction's fortress gate all of their minions must progress to during the Onslaught Phase. Once a mark is chosen, they hand over their faction mark chip to the faction they have marked, and it is set beside their fortress. Once all marks are decided, players will then use their command points in turn order. Players will use these to select units from their barracks for deployment during the coming wave. Players need not use all command points available, but they are lost if not used. The number available each wave is predetermined. In Wave 1, 5 command points are available. Wave 2, 7 command points. Wave 3, 9 command points. Wave 4, 11 command points. Note that all selected units a player chooses for deployment are open information for players acting after them in turn order. A player may select any number of minions for deployment each wave, as long as they have both the available command points and units available from their barracks. Merc minions purchased previously can be selected for deployment at no cost. Minions can be deployed either grouped or ungrouped. A player can group as many or as few minions as desired. Each ungrouped minion must have health chips equal to their health stat under their unit chip. When preparing a group of minions, a player begins by placing all of the chips they would like to group together in a stack. These are required to be ordered top-down from lowest to highest movement stat. A number of health chips will be placed underneath the stack equal to the shown top minion. As for heroes, each player has a starting hero with no command point cost. This is the only hero that may be selected for deployment in Wave 1. Each faction has 2 additional heroes with a CP cost. Starting Wave 2, these can be selected for deployment. This includes heroes purchased from the market, which can be selected for no command point cost. A faction may not have more than 2 heroes in play at any time from Wave 2 onwards. Heroes are not grouped with minions, nor can they be grouped with one another. They always deploy alone. Each selected hero will have a number of health chips equal to its health stat placed underneath it. Heroes must be placed either first in the stack before all minions or last in the stack after all minions have deployed. Players simultaneously prepare their deployment stacks. This is a single stack of all units selected for deployment. Players can use their hands to obstruct the order in which they stack their units. Only the top unit of the deployment stack is open information. The deployment stack is placed on the Fortress Gate hex. Once all players have completed this, they move on to the Onslaught Phase, which we will learn about in the next video.